Just a few words about airport security. Nobody likes the hassle you have to go through as a passenger when you have to get screened before you get to the airplane. It's a lot more involved than it used to be. Security procedures are in place for the protection of everyone. Nobody wants to be hijacked. For a little background on things, hijacking just didn't begin in 2001. I think the first recorded hijacking was actually in the year 1931 in Peru, where some revolutionaries wanted an airplane to take them up over the city so they could drop leaflets. That never really happened. It was resolved after a few days, but it goes way, way, way back. The hijackings that I'm familiar with really started in the US in the 1960s and through the early 70s. And over time, procedures were put in place to mitigate those efforts. Initially, it started as things related to Cuba, where people from Cuba wanted to go back to Cuba and they hijacked an airplane successfully. After a while, authorities put procedures in place to limit that. I remember one time we'll go to an airport and escort a person right up to the gate, right to almost getting on the airplane. Those days are long gone. The hijackings in the 70s, it became more politically motivated, where there was destruction and airplanes blown up in the desert with no fatalities, eventually led to situations where there were fatalities and things had to ramp up. For those that don't remember, September 11, 2001 marked a very dark day in aircraft history, with the hijackings of a number of airplanes that were used to destroy the World Trade Center in New York, along with damage to the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., and another airplane that crashed in the state of Pennsylvania. To keep that from ever happening again, airlines took the steps to actually arm pilots in the U.S. to intervene and protect the cockpit by any means necessary to prevent another 9/11 type situation happening. Unlike most countries in the U.S. domestically, there are people labeled as federal flight deck officers who are duly authorized to take whatever actions necessary up into including actually killing someone if necessary, to keep the cockpit from being taken over by hijackers. This occurs in passenger airplanes and cargo aircraft. Only the U.S. does this. However, the United States, along with many other countries, have air marshals and security that may fly unbeknownst to most on certain routes where things can occur, where there's a security breach or where there's a suspected terrorist activity. Unfortunately, in many cases, people being what they are, there's a lot of bad behavior that occurs on airplanes with people with mental conditions and those who just haven't been socialized properly, or some just don't have any sense at all. So there's a lot of wild stuff going on in airplanes with passengers, and that cannot happen on the flight deck. In fact, you're going to see that there's going to be more reinforcement of cockpit doors and pathways leading to the cockpit. That has to be sacrosanct and protected at all costs. So it's a hassle to take your shoes off and do all these other things. Sometimes it's not necessary to disrobe as much as possible, as much as they used to require you to do. New technology has eliminated the need to remove shoes in a lot of cases. It's still not a good idea to take liquids through. So bear with it. It's difficult. It is a hassle, but there's a precedent that's been set, and no one wants to see a hijacked airplane or an airplane that's compromised because someone's interfering with the flight crew. That just can't happen. So be safe, follow the rules. Best of luck to everyone.